The night was quiet, wrapped in a kind of stillness that only comes after a long day. The kitchen counters gleamed faintly under the soft glow of the night light. The television had been switched off hours ago, and the house seemed to breathe in rhythm with its sleeping occupants. I walked slowly down the hallway, the wooden floor creaking gently under my bare feet. My husband, Daniel, had already gone to bed. I had watched him disappear into our room with his favorite mystery novel tucked under his arm. He had kissed my forehead on the way, murmuring, "Don't stay up too late, okay?" But I lingered, as I often did. I had a habit of double-checking the locks, the stove, the laundry machine, and finally, of checking on Ethan, our son. At 13, Ethan was no longer the little boy who clung to my side at bedtime, but neither was he entirely grown. He hovered somewhere in between, in that delicate space where children start carving out independence while still holding on to fragments of their childhood. Sometimes he'd tell me, "Good night, Mom," with a quick smile and retreat into his room, eager for privacy. Other times, he'd still want me to tuck him in, though he'd pretend he didn't care. That evening, I noticed a faint glow seeping from under his door. His bedtime had passed more than an hour ago. I smiled, expecting to catch him with a flashlight under his blanket, devouring another book or sketching in his notebook. I decided to gently remind him that morning would come soon and school wouldn't wait. I turned the doorknob slowly and pushed the door open just enough to peek in. What I saw froze me where I stood. Ethan was perched on the edge of his bed, hunched forward, clutching a piece of paper in his hands. His face was pale under the lamplight, his eyes glassy with unshed tears. He didn't notice me at first. He was too absorbed, too lost in whatever the paper held. The sight struck me like a blow. My son, usually cheerful and playful, sitting as though the weight of the world rested on his small shoulders. "Ethan!" I whispered softly, not wanting to startle him. He jumped, nearly dropping the paper, and quickly shoved it behind his back. His eyes darted to mine, wide and nervous. "Mom, I was just nothing." The tremor in his voice told me it wasn't nothing. I stepped inside quietly, closing the door behind me. "Sweetheart, it's late. What are you doing awake? And what's that?" For a moment, I thought he might shut down completely. But then his shoulders slumped, and with a shaky hand, he pulled the folded paper out and held it toward me. "It's just something I wrote. Don't be mad." I sat down beside him on the bed, taking the paper carefully as though it were fragile. When I unfolded it, my heart clenched at the heading, "Dear Mom and Dad." My eyes skimmed the words, each one pressing deeper into me than the last. "Dear Mom and Dad, sometimes I don't know how to say what I feel out loud. I know you both work hard, and I don't want to make life harder. But sometimes I feel like I'm not enough, like I'm always messing up, forgetting things, or not doing as well as I should. I see how tired you are, and I wish I could make you proud. I'm trying, even if it doesn't always look like it. I just hope, maybe, you're proud of me even a little." I had to stop. My vision blurred, my throat thickened. My son, my sweet, goofy, creative boy, had written this. He had carried these thoughts inside him, silent and heavy, until they spilled out onto paper. I lowered the letters slowly, blinking through tears. "Ethan!" He shifted uncomfortably, staring at his hands. "I didn't mean for you to find it tonight. I was going to hide it, or maybe throw it away." I put the letter on my lap and reached for his hand. He let me hold it, though his fingers were stiff. "Sweetheart, why would you feel this way? Why would you think you're not enough?" He finally looked at me, his eyes shimmering with vulnerability that broke my heart. "Because I forget homework sometimes. I don't get straight A's like some kids. You and Dad always seem tired. I don't want to be another problem. I want you to be proud." The room felt heavy with the weight of his confession. For years, I had worried about packing lunches, getting him to practice, reminding him about assignments. I thought I was doing enough, but I hadn't seen this, the quiet storm building inside him, the fear that he was somehow failing us. I pulled him into my arms, and though he resisted at first, 13-year-old pride, he finally melted into me, his body trembling. "Ethan, listen to me," I said firmly, my voice breaking with emotion. "You are more than enough. You always have been. We're not proud of you because of grades or perfection. We're proud because of who you are. You are kind, thoughtful, funny, and you have a heart that cares so deeply. That's what matters. That's what makes us proud every single day. His arms tightened around me. Really? Really? I whispered, stroking his hair. You don't need to prove anything to us. You already are everything we could ever hope for. For a long time, we sat there in silence. His breathing slowed, his trembling eased, and I felt the tension in him begin to loosen. I tucked him into bed afterward, kissed his forehead and whispered, "Good night, my proudest joy." When I stepped out of his room, closing the door softly behind me, I pressed the letter against my chest and leaned against the wall. Tears slipped down my cheeks, but they weren't only from sadness. They were from love, from gratitude, from the realization that I had been given a second chance. That night changed everything. In the days that followed, I carried Ethan's words in my heart like a compass pointing me toward what truly mattered. I told Daniel about the letter the next morning. He read it silently, his jaw tight, his eyes glassy. Then he wrapped his arms around me without a word. We knew we had to do better, not in the sense of being perfect parents, but in showing Ethan more often that he was loved exactly as he was. So we started making small changes. At dinner, we asked about his day and really listened, even when the stories seemed trivial. On weekends, instead of rushing through errands, we carved out time for family walks, trips to the bookstore, or board games at home. Most importantly, we started a new tradition, notes. Sometimes I slipped a folded message into his lunchbox, just a doodle, a joke, or a line that said, "You've got this." Sometimes he left sketches on my desk or a sticky note that read, "Thanks for dinner, Mom." These little exchanges became a bridge, a way to say the things we didn't always know how to speak aloud. As months passed, I watched Ethan's confidence grow. He still had moments of self-doubt, don't we all? But he no longer carried them in silence. He'd talk, he'd write, he'd reach out. And every time he did, we were there, reminding him that love wasn't conditional, pride wasn't earned, and family meant belonging without question. One evening, as I tucked him in, he grinned at me and said, "Hey Mom, guess what? Today I answered a hard question in class. I didn't know if I was right, but I tried anyway." "And how did it go?" I asked. His grin widened. "I was right." I laughed, ruffling his hair. "See? Proud moment number 100 today." He rolled his eyes but couldn't hide the smile tugging at his lips. That simple moment captured everything we had learned since that night. Pride wasn't about achievement stacked high. It was about courage, kindness, effort, and growth.